My name is Dianne Jenett, and I was born in Dallas, Texas, but I live in Palo Alto, California. My maiden name is Elkins, but I never met an Elkins because my dad, his father died when he was 6 months old from typhoid, and so we never knew that side of the family. I loved my dad so much, and he unfortunately died when I was in my 20s. And in his honor, I named my daughter Jamie. Her middle name is Elkins, after him. But still, I knew nothing really about that family, and I yearned to know more. I don't remember the year, but I was 50 years old. It was on my birthday. And I went to my computer and I typed in my great-grandfather's name, Abraham Elkins, into a brand new website called Ancestry.com. And I was so shocked to find the whole history of my family going back to the 1600s in Virginia. It turns out that those people came over as indentured servants, mostly from England and Wales, and left Virginia and went to North Carolina, to Georgia, to Tennessee, to Mississippi, to Alabama, to Arkansas, and finally to Oklahoma, where my dad was born. They were small farmers. Actually, some of them were patriots that fought in the Revolutionary War. They seemed not to have very much money, and they were certainly not plantation owners. So, like a lot of white people, I thought that my ancestors had never enslaved people until I read the records, the wills, the slave schedules, the property tax rolls. And I found out that almost all of those ancestors had been enslavers. And this knowledge changed forever the way I look at my own ancestry, the history of this country, and the debt, which can never be adequately repaid, that we owe to those who were enslaved. In fact, my family was at the beginning of slavery in the United States. I found out my 9th great-grandfather, a man named Thomas Willis, came as an indentured servant to Middlesex, Virginia in 1635. And as many white people did, within a few years, he had changed his status from indentured servant to property owner, and he began indenturing other people to work the tobacco fields. Records show that in 1658, under the headright system, for 500 acres in Christchurch, Virginia, he brought in 20 people. 5 of them were white people, and we know their first and last names, and 15 of them were Africans, and their names are Jack, Nell, Quo, Cromwell, George, Matthew, Joe, Tom, Burroughs, Mingo, Jacob, Peter, Robin, Sascone, and Jasper. Only 3 years later, slavery became legal in Virginia. So the people whose names I just spoke probably became some of the first people who lost their rights, who became forcibly identified as property, who lost the rights to their children, who lost the rights to their body, who lost the rights to the fruits of their own labor. What happened to them and their descendants is unspeakably unjust. My ancestors, first working side by side, in the same fields with the Africans under the indentured system, then turned around and enslaved them for their own gain, a decision which corrupted then and continues corrupting our country for 400 years. Our country, I believe, has a debt to those people who were enslaved, and we all owe it. So I worked for government reparations, but I also believe that I have a personal moral debt based on my ancestry and our family and what has been gained unjustly by us. My daughter will be the last leaf on the family tree, at least my branch, and my estate is the culmination of all the wealth that's been accumulated by our family. This knowledge has prompted me to write a living will, directing her, instructing her, guiding her on how to give the wealth back to the descendants of those we have harmed. It's evolving. It's a work in progress, both financially and politically. As I learn more, I'm telling her more about what I know, about the stories I've heard, about the history that I now understand. And we're both working together, trying to end our direct lineage by acts of reparation, of restoration, and hopefully of justice. And it's guided by our respect and love for the descendants of those our ancestors have enslaved. My vision, my hope, is that all of our families thrive in joy.